Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. I'm kidding. This is a fun one, talking about some bird hybrids from the Great Lakes. There are some crazy bird hybrids that have been recorded in our area before. This wood duck hooded merganser hybrid blows my mind. And to be honest, I feel like they don't get as much love and attention and as excitement as I would think that they should. I think it has a bit to do with the listing phenomenon where, yes, this bird is cool looking and crazy, but it doesn't count on your list. But I wanted to touch on some cool points about hybrids, highlight some of the crazy records that we have had locally, in hopes of changing your mind, thinking about them hybrid birds and how exciting they are. So, in support of that goal, I've created this page that has a lot of reference material, a lot of media about different hybrids that have been recorded in the Great Lakes. And I'm going to pull some of this sweet eye candy right from the list as I go through it. I thought a good place to kick it off would be just to highlight that, a lot of bird researchers, scientists might say, you should really say possible hybrids with a lot of these birds. Um, it's pretty complex when you have two different species getting together and making babies. Even with our best intentions, there's some, amusing inconsistencies, with how snow and Ross's goose hybrids are considered widespread, and it's hard to find a pure Ross's goose, whereas Canada cackling goose hybrids, which we know are out there, isn't even an option on eBird because it's so messy. There's interesting parallels, but yet birds are treated totally differently in different ways. It's a human nature thing. My unscientific mind absolutely loves them. There are a lot out there that seem to be quite intermediate between the parent species. There's also this fascinating element around hybrid birds. So here we've got a Gadwall mallard hybrid or a northern pintail green-winged teal hybrid that somehow end up looking surprisingly similar, even though neither of the parent species are the same. Sometimes you get these like ancestral genetics that resurface when hybridization happens. There are some really interesting insights, to be had from hybrid birds. One of our more common hybrids, the blue-winged, golden-winged warbler complex. It's famous from the notion when people said, well, how can you have a bird with a yellow throat and a bird with a black throat, eventually making hybrids that have white throats? There are some really, really well studied hybrid groups, a lot of really cool information out there to read up on or to learn about them. Another well studied hybrid group locally are the contact zone between Carolina chickadee and blackcap chickadee, which is this whole other hybrid situation where they're relatively distinct species. Like they're not actually that closely related, even though they look similar. Whereas the blue-winged, golden-winged warblers are quite closely related and hybridize far and wide. So lots of cool information out there. I'm not going to get into it, but there's links to these articles on the page. You can learn about it. I love the evolutionary look from those last two examples. Why are birds hybridizing? Does it make sense? Are there benefits? Are there things that work against birds where it happens? But I do want to keep it in on the amazing birding, shock and awe element too, since I'm not that scientist. Some of these hybrids do not make sense, but they are amazing and awesome. And from the birding perspective, it is also interesting to just think about well, why is this happening, or why has this hybrid happened? One explanation that I think might be overlooked a little bit, but I started to realize as I pulled this list together, is that maybe some of these hybrids, particularly these really weird waterfowl hybrids, like this one's listed as this canvasback redhead hybrid, but kind of looks like it might be a red-crested pochard hybridized with one of those two species, whether it's canvasback or redhead. It does seem possible that waterfowl collectors have maybe had this hybridization event happen, and either the bird has escaped or they've just let it go because they can't sell it or they don't know what to do with it. But definitely some birds on that list may have that sort of explanation. The one that ties into both the birding, but the study and the reasons behind hybridization involves vagrancy. And I see it a lot. I'll see people say, well, those two species, their range doesn't overlap. Therefore, it seems unlikely that they would hybridize. Whereas I would take a much stronger stance in the other direction to say, tufted duck is a vagrant to the Great Lakes. And the fact that we see apparent hybrids highlights to me that notion that I do think vagrancy would be a big driver of that hybridization, whether it's intentional or from an evolutionary sense or not. But, if you're lonely, if you're out there by yourself, maybe finding love comes in all shapes and sizes when you're a bird, including other species. I have wondered sometimes if a situation where you have two vagrants coming into the area, you've got little blue heron and snowy egret that are both relatively rare birds in the Great Lakes region, yet somehow a hybrid has showed up here. It does make me wonder, like, could that hybrid have occurred locally? Could there be some island out in Lake Erie where one of each showed up at the same time, and that's why this super rare hybrid has somehow also shown up out of range? But that's pretty hard to say for sure. And sort of not quite in that same vein, but you've got possibly rare to uncommon breeding species. Maybe a species is expanding. Maybe it's a locally rare nesting species. Maybe there's been habitat degradation or fragmentation that has then led to birds coming together in ways that may not have been expected to have happened naturally prior to humans' influence on the landscape. But again, those are just theories, something fun to think about. Definitely some of the craziest hybrids seem to just defy explanation. They're not particularly rare and may or may not be habitat fragmentation. You'd think that they would just live together and not even be possible to hybridize. But then the inexplicable happens. This Tana beak hybrid hit the news quite a bit several years ago. It's also a really cool example where they went out and caught the bird and they did DNA analysis just to confirm what was going on. Because, ooh boy, is that DNA analysis sweet when you can get it. This Kentucky mourning warbler hybrid from back in the day in New York, it's an interesting one to consider. Like, could this bird have been identified without that DNA? It's another one of those fun examples where features not shown by either parent species, revealed themselves in this bird. Boy, to drive all those points home, all in one bird. Would anyone have considered the possibility of a 3-species bird hybrid, especially something like warblers, where you've got this blue-winged, golden-winged warbler hybrid that then crosses back with a chestnut-sided warbler? Certainly the DNA played a big role, but maybe environmental factors of habitat loss or fragmentation or climate change, where chestnut-sideds are more common now that we have logging. But yeah, it's like I love birds like this. I love pushing that thought of like, well, what is possible? What do we think is happening out there? And looking extra hard in the field instead of just maybe ignoring a bird that looks slightly different and thinking, oh, maybe it's age related. Getting the documentation, getting the word out there, which then allowed people to go and catch the bird, for science to happen. It's amazing. It's awesome. There's kind of a wonder to it where, we don't always necessarily get a chance to catch the bird or get DNA or to have a definitive answer. This one just highlights one of those birds too, where it's like something really inexplicable happened here. Amazing documentation was obtained, but, despite your best efforts, we can't say right now. Maybe someone will catch a bird like this in the future and we will get DNA and we'll start to piece together and learn more and more as time goes on. That's my goal here. That's the dream, to get you excited about hybrids. My winter birding this past year was enhanced so much because of other birders going out in the field and recognizing an area close to my house that had the potential for hybrid ducks. And people talk about the winter being slow and it's hard to motivate yourself to get out. That I had some incredible days of out birding and taking pictures, trying to find some of these hybrid ducks. And then, getting the word out there, like they're sharing of photos, got me out looking. I had an amazing time. It spurred more discussion around hybrids and where there might be more. And, other birders started posting saying, oh, I went and checked out my area and I turned up a hybrid. And that growing excitement and sense of community around these incredible birds is what I really just wanted to highlight here. Now, if I can add a couple of, plugs to wrap this up, it's definitely the notion of like, getting the word out there if you see something cool, making sure it's uploaded to iNaturalist or eBird in a way that other people can find it. Sometimes just bird spa or gull spa can kind of get lost or get buried. I think back in the day, people would try to maybe publish birds in journals to help get the word out there. But now we have all this amazing technology at our disposal to just get the word out there faster and have it spread and be more easily accessible. to everyone, rather than having paywall journal articles. A lot of cool birds get found and discovered, through what's this bird kind of posts online. People recognize a cool bird in their backyard. So I do think it'd be really fun too if you ever notice something like that that pops up. Just leave a comment that says, please, if you can, get this uploaded to iNaturalist or eBird just so other people can see it, other people can learn from it. It's also worth noting that list that I pulled together, isn't complete. There's lots of stuff out there that I haven't been able to find yet. But also, there are hybrid birds out there that haven't been recorded locally, that haven't made the list. Like Bufflehead hooded merganser hybrid is a good one. I went through some of the photos that were online for that combination, and as far as I could tell, they were hooded mergansers, like young males in spring plumage that people maybe aren't used to seeing them in that fashion, and maybe it led to a hybrid, which is also kind of another fun talking point of like there are lots of reasons why birds look weird. Don't get discouraged if someone says, oh, actually, this is this. Don't get your hopes up and then don't get let down. It's fun. It's just about learning and sharing cool ideas. That's a big part of bird study, where you see a bird that looks weird and it's not necessarily a hybrid. There might be totally other cool and exciting reasons why birds look atypical. I do have some stuff in the back burner around other ways and reasons why you get aberrant looking birds. But it's fun. Birding should be fun. I'm a big believer in that. I mean, almost all of birding is fun. I don't know if I can spin AI technology that helps you remove leaves in front of birds' faces, turning them into hybrid looking weirdos. I think having this reference material on hand will hopefully help identify those situations when they pop up in the future as well. There's interesting things happening. I don't fault anyone for using the technology. I think it's really cool technology, but boy, it's maybe going to cause some more headaches in the future around what is real and what isn't real. But it's fun. I hope you have a new appreciation around hybrid birds and why they're so cool. I hope while you're out in the field, you keep an open mind, thinking that it may or may not be possible. Let me know if you have any thoughts or comments or critiques or suggestions. Be sure to check out that list. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I've compiled it for anyone who's interested. I put a link to it below. And yeah, hope you have an amazing time in the field out there. And see you again soon.